Hello there, it's me, Kimberly Gosney from MakingHeadway.us, and in today's video tutorial, I'm going to walk you through how to turn an image into a website circle button using Adobe Illustrator. So let's get to it! It's time for us to make our circle button using a stock image or your favorite photograph. I like to use circle buttons on the sidebar of websites because you can add a little visual interest and you can highlight something that's like a feature that you're promoting or something you want people to see when they visit the blog of your website. So we're going to go ahead and open up a styled stock image, or you can use a favorite photograph of yourself. I am using a styled stock picture from the Hot Chocolate Styled Stock Library. That's HAUTECHOCOLATE.ca, hotchocolate.ca. I have a horrible time with my accent and saying the word hot, so it sounds like H-O-T, but it's not, it's H-A-U-T-E. So we're going to jump on in. I'm using Adobe Illustrator, the Creative Cloud version 2015.3. Alright, so let's do this. We're going to open up that picture that we're going to use, so we're just going to do File and Open. And we're going to click on the image that you want to turn into a circle button. So I'm going to zoom out so you can see my picture, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the toolboard because you may or may not have used Adobe Illustrator before, and Macs and PCs can be very different. So I'm going to share with you the settings that I use in Adobe Illustrator, and you can pause and check yours as you're watching this video and then come back and turn it back on once you've checked these settings. So things that are going to be super important are under Window, you want to have Application Frame checked, Application bar checked, Control checked, and under Tools, I hate saying that word with my accent, but under Tools, you're going to make sure that Default is checked off. So if you have those four things, Application Frame, Application bar, Control, and Tools set to default, we will be good to go. There are also a couple of other tools that I'll be sharing with you to make this process easy, and I'll go over those from the menu bar area whenever possible, just in case our screens don't look exactly the same. So, the first thing you need to know when you're making your sidebar circle button is how wide the sidebar area of your website is. You can also use these in your page copy too as like buy buttons and things like that. And it depends on what website theme you're using. I use Headway themes, and for most of the site designs that I set up for myself, my clients, and most of my templates, I keep the sidebars consistently sized at 300 pixels wide. So you might have to Google and find out what the width is for your theme in terms of your widget area. So it's always good to know what size picture is the biggest picture you can put over there before it will make things look wonky. So I'm going to be using the little bit smaller than 300 pixels so that it would look perfect on any of my clients' websites or any of my DIYer sites, but just take a peek and see what size works best for your sidebar. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is the orientation of your image. I'm using an image that is vertically it's taller than it is wide. So what I want to do is I want to turn this image around so that it is wider than it is tall. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and click on my image. I'm going to choose Object up here in the top, Transform, Rotate. And usually you'll have to experiment with how your image is structured, but you could either do 90 degrees or negative 90 depending on where your picture is. So for me, negative 90 right here in this box, if I click OK, it's going to put that image going left to right where it is wider than it is tall. So that is really important. The next thing we need to check is the settings of your ruler, and we want to make sure that you're set to pixels and not inches. So we're going to choose View, and we're going to scroll down until we see Rulers, and you're going to hit Show Rulers. So right here, if you right click here with your mouse, right click will show you what you're set to. It'll either be pixels or inches, usually by default. So we want to change this to pixels. We're going to work in pixels because it's easier for site design, where inches are better for things like print design. So here we are. I'm going to click on this image and we're going to find out the size of the picture that you're working with. So the easiest way to find out the size of the picture you're working with is to go to Window, and to click transform. And I'm going to do that one more time because I just turned mine off, but window and transform. That will show you the width and height of your image. My image is 864 pixels wide by 576 pixels tall. So now this is where the fun comes in. We need to make a circle, and this circle can be as wide as the smallest part of our image. So in this case, our height of our image is shorter than the width is. So 576 would be the absolute biggest that this circle could be right now. And we can make this circle smaller to get a better chunk of our picture. So I'm going to explain that right now. So first off, we're going to start with the picture, with a circle that is set to whichever is the smallest number over here. So in this case, the height. So on your tools section, over here on this side, there's the rectangle tool that shows right up under the type tool. If you click the rectangle tool for a second, it's going to pop open your extra options. We want the ellipse tool so we can make a circle. So we're just going to click ellipse. Then you can click anywhere in the gray. I'm going to just click right here, and I'm going to make this 576 pixels wide by 576 pixels tall. So once you do that and hit OK, it's going to draw you a circle right there on your board. So I'm going to click away so you can see the circle. Here it is. By default, the circle will usually be a black outline with a white center. So we're going to click this circle, and we need to turn the color off because we want to be able to see a clear circle. So right here, if you've got a stroke, you're going to click stroke and then click down here to take it to none. Then we're going to do the same thing. The fill, we're going to click it and we're going to click none. And by doing those two things and clicking away, you'll see that my circle is gone. You can't see it. But if I left click and drag over the area where it's at, my circle is there. It's just hiding out behind the scenes. So now let me talk to you about resizing this circle to grab a better chunk of your picture and aligning the circle so that you can get the spot that you want. So if you come up to the top and choose Window and Align, you're going to get the alignment board. Here's the alignment board, and we're going to be looking at horizontal and vertical alignment first. So if we click horizontal, and then we click vertical, it's going to put the circle, and I'll grab the circle so you can see it and zoom in a little bit. It's going to put the circle right in the middle of that picture. And this may or may not work for your particular picture because you're using something different from me. So what I like to say right here is if you still have transform open, and remember that's just window and scroll down to transform, but mine is still open over here, so I'm going to click it. As long as these two numbers are not really small and they'll fit on the sidebar of your website, you can resize your circle to get a better chunk of this image. So the goal for me, if I'm making my sidebar image to be fitting a 300 pixel wide sidebar, the smallest that I would want my circle to be would be probably 280 pixels. But, and I know that that gets kind of confusing, but if you hold down Shift and you grab this circle by the edge, you can slide this circle and then it'll show you the width and the height in the corner. So as long as you don't make this too small for your sidebar, like you can make this circle whatever size you need to capture the prettiest part of this image. So if I take this to 450 for example by 450 and I slide it around, I can capture all of the coffee cup, the top corner of the calculator, and all of the cute little pink book that's behind the coffee cup. But I'm also capturing a little weird chunk of this bowl of clips. So I might come back in, left click and drag and make this just a little bit smaller. And then I could push it down a little too. So in this little part, you're going to be using your eyes and your creativity to determine where is the best fit for your circle. So I think what looks the best is grabbing the top corner of the coffee cup and the bottom corner of the clipboard and having some of the pink in the notebook show. Now I'm going to look back over here and you'll notice that it's set to 409 by 409. It's bigger than the 280 I need to fit in the middle of my 300 pixel sidebar. So as long as this number is bigger than that, I'm good to go. So now comes the fun part. We're going to make the magic happen. So if you left click and drag over this whole entire chunk, you're going to select everything on your artboard. You can also do that by coming up to the top and hitting select and choosing all. So now we have selected the background and the picture. What we're going to do next is we're going to turn this picture into a circle button. And this part is like magic. This is what makes Adobe Illustrator so amazing. I just absolutely love this. But if you come over here to your panel and you choose Object, and then you come down to Clipping Mask and Make, you're going to turn that picture into a circle button, just like that. Boom, it's a circle button. Yay! So what we want to do from here is we want to size this down to fit your sidebar, because right now if I click on mine, it's way too big. It's 410 almost by 410, and my sidebar is only 300 pixels. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come right here to this width. I'm going to make sure that this little lock is locked. So that's unlocked, but I want it locked so everything stays the same and it doesn't adjust it and stretch it and make it look weird. So I'm going to come to this top one and I'm going to type 280 in here, and then I'm going to hit enter. And now my button is 280 pixels by 280 pixels. Perfect, because it'll fit really nicely in my 300 pixel sidebar. So now we need to talk about this big white box in the background. That's your artboard, and our artboard is what we're saving in the background of this picture. So we need to set this to the size of the width of your sidebar. So now I'm just going to come over here, I'm going to click this little artboard tool, and you want to make sure that this says 300 pixels wide by 300 pixels tall. So basically it's a 300 by 300 box. That is the width of my sidebar on my website. And right here, this button is 280 by 280. So our last step is to align the button to fit in the middle of the sidebar background. So to do that, we're going to choose Window and we're going to select Align. Next, we're going to do horizontally align center and then vertically align center. And now when we click, and I'll zoom in so you can see it, this picture now rests in the center of my sidebar 300 pixels background. So I hope that makes sense. But this way it makes your box that the sidebar is for that width, the button then fits inside it and it's nice and centered so it'll look amazing on the sidebar of your website. Now this step is totally optional, and if you want to add some text to this button you can. So to do that, you just click on your type tool right here, and you can click anywhere on your circle button. You can type in what you want to say. I'm just going to type hello there, and then I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to do the same thing because I like my paragraphs to be aligned to the middle of buttons. So for aligning, you're going to choose center align, horizontal align, so it puts it right smack in the middle of that button. And then we're going to choose paragraph up here in the paragraphs panel. So we'll choose paragraph and we'll center that text. So once we do that, we might have to click off and then click our selection tool, come back to our actual text, center it again, and center it horizontally and vertically. There's a lot of centering that happens, so that's horizontal and vertical align. Next, you can hold down your shift key and you can drag it out so that the font is bigger, and it will stretch it and make it nice and even. So it won't, as long as you're holding your shift down, the font will stretch top and bottom together instead of having it look stretched out overall. I hope that makes sense. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to align horizontal and we're going to align vertical, and our words are right there in the middle of our button. The last step here, I like to go ahead and select all of the letters, so you can do select all after you click the type. So you're just going to click on your words. So let me do that again because there's another way you can do it. There's so many ways you can do things, but you can choose the selection tool. You can click on all the words just like that. And then you can come to type, font, And you can go through your list of fonts on your computer until you find the one that's just right for your circle button. I'm going to use Helvetica for mine. It's my favorite of all fonts. And then you can also come over here to the fill and you can click on that and adjust the color of your button. But I'm going to leave it set to black, which is just 6 number zeros, and I'm going to hit OK. So now I've got my button and I've got my font. Of course, you can change the fonts, you can change the color of the fonts, but that is the easiest and quickest way to make your very own circle button for your sidebar of your website. Now there is one other little nitpicky, I'm saying nitty, what is that? That's not even a word. There's another little nitpicky thing that I like to do with fonts, and that is if there's a bunch of gap space between the two words, I like to click on them and then click this character panel right here, and this leading, where it says set the leading, if you click here and make this number smaller than the number that's here, so I'm going to try 36, it'll snug the letters up together. And I tend to like them to be a little bit more snug. You don't want them overlapping unless that's the look you're going for, but let's do that again. So it's character, and I'm going to change it to 42 just to give it a tiny pinch of breathing room. But when you do that, you're going to see that it opens up a little space in there, and then you're just going to align it to the horizontal center and then the vertical center again. And it just makes the words look like they fit together a little bit better. So there you have it. Like the last step here is the most important step. That's to save your circle button as a JPEG file and also as an AI file. So when you save it as an AI file, you can come back to it and edit it later on. And when you save it as a JPEG, you're going to save it in a medium quality. So that way it's nice and doesn't take up too much space on your website when you load it in. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to choose File, Save As, and we're going to save this as whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it Pink and Mint Circle Button. But you can name it anything that makes sense for you, and you're just going to save that on your computer. And then you just click OK when it comes up to this setting for Illustrator. And once you do that, it's going to go ahead and save your circle button. Next, we're going to choose File, Export, Save for the web. And when we do this, we're going to come over here to the type of file it is. We're going to click, oh sorry, hang on, let me close this window out. We're going to click right here and we're going to choose JPEG, and I like to save this as a medium quality. Before you save it though, you can also preview it to make sure that by saving it as medium it doesn't look fuzzy. So let's do preview. And when you preview, it's going to open up a tab in your browser to show you what your actual button looks like on a website. So that's medium, and usually that setting is great for sidebar buttons and smaller images on your site. So let's go back to Adobe Illustrator, and now we're going to go ahead and save this file, and it'll automatically bring up the name of the file that you just chose. We're just going to go ahead and hit save so we can save that to your computer, and now you're ready to load that button onto the widget area of your sidebar, or you can pop it on the copy section of any of the pages of your website. So that's how you make an image into a circle button using Adobe Illustrator. Thanks, and bye!